Hey neighbor, welcome back to ARTV. My name is John, and it's time to review the 10th studio album Midnights by Taylor Swift. This is her first album of fully new material in about 2 years after Folklore and Evermore, her quarantine albums that ended up being some of her magnum opuses, at least certain tracks, and Folklore really ended up being a favorite of mine in the long run, and Evermore was a great sister album to it. Anyways, we're now officially in the Midnights era, and this is Taylor Swift playing her hand right back into the world of pop music, and this is smarter pop music. It's made more intelligently, I guess I should say. We've known that Taylor can do pop hooks. We've been seeing it since the start of her career. Even her self-titled debut had some really catchy hooks that I thought could translate to a more widespread audience, and that's exactly what she did with 1989, Reputation, Lover. Certain experiments went better than others, and my personal favorite was 1989 because it felt a little bit tighter, more cohesive, and it really focused in on the pop bops, and that's why I feel like Midnights is the child of not just 1989, but it also has a little bit of that snarky attitude of Reputation. And despite me not loving that record, in fact I found a lot of its lyrics and the presentation to be rather cringy, I do think that some of the ideas that live there are translated better on this new album. Jack Antonoff is the executive producer on the record alongside Taylor herself, and it's great to see him back at the captain's chair because I think their actual friendship bleeds through into the collaboration, into the music that we get, and while I had been feeling like Jack had been slipping in terms of what he's producing, this is a very rich, vivacious record with a lot of energy, but also a lot of really interesting production choices that make it even stronger. What I've said in the past is that Taylor Swift, the superstar that she is, she should be setting the trends instead of following them, and I'm happy to say that this album really does have an expansive pop sound that's just simply fun to listen to. The heart and soul of pop and just music at large is what the song can offer in its various parts, whether that be the verse, or a really catchy chorus, or a fantastic bridge that ties everything together. And with TikTok and other social media apps really trying to condense things and shortening song lengths, I'm really happy to see that Taylor didn't play into that and instead really puts out a lot of great 3 to 4 minute long songs that really just have great bridges, some finishing touches for the finales, something that just sees the status quo and then shakes it off in favor of whatever the hell she wants to try. Midnights is by no means a game-changing album. In fact, it is very indebted to certain sounds that she's flirted with in the past. And of course, the lyrical themes do revolve around her relationship with her boyfriend Joe Alwyn, and of course, there's some revenge that is playing heavy-handedly. It's one of the big themes that she's been hitting on. If you want to think about Midnight succinctly like a mission statement overall, I would call it Darkly Dreaming Swiftie, because it's an album that focuses on Taylor's musings, explorations of revenge, and kind of flipping the script when it comes to gender roles and other things that have her all worked up and angry. That's of course not entirely the focus because there are love songs too, but I feel that the attitude-driven tracks, like Karma, for example. Pure pop bliss, one of the best pop tracks of the entire year. It goes ridiculously hard, and it's one of those songs that you can just find yourself singing along with almost instantly. There's moments like that that are unfortunately counteracted by some of the weaker tracks like Vigilante shit that really just feel like leftovers from Reputation that I didn't want. Also, before I talk about some of the stronger moments, I have to point out track 5, which, if you're a Taylor Swift fan or have spent any amount of time listening to her albums, then you know that that is a holy slot that's reserved for some of Taylor's most emotional songs. Well, on this album, we get You're on Your Own, Kid, which is definitely one of the weakest cuts here. It's not exactly formulated all that well. I don't think that the chorus is all that catchy, and the way that Taylor Swift is kind of talking to herself in the mirror, it doesn't really work for me. Surprisingly, I found some of the weirder choices, things that I don't always like pitch-shifting vocals, to actually come together in a pretty nice manner. Midnight Rain is a great example of that, and I was a bit turned off by all of the pitchiness at first, but if you look at it in context, I almost feel like it's a conversation with yourself or a conversation that you maybe rehearsed with your partner, a love interest, whatever it might be. There's a lot of synthesizers on that track, and that definitely does span out to the rest of the album too. I like that the synths are so important to the mix, and there's a lot of clarity and oomph to her vocals. Guitars also pop up here and there. I think they sound great in the background of tracks like Karma, and the drum programming, the sequencing of the album overall. It gels and flows, and I really do feel that there's a connectivity that drives this album forward in a way that we don't always get from a Taylor Swift album. The light reverberation and the subtle uses of synthesizers and keys to really draw up an atmosphere on Question has led to it becoming one of my favorites. I do like that she's able to get entangled in her mind in these thoughts and not lose herself in the web. Lavender Haze will really worm its way in. I like the fact that they went a little bit oddball with it. Sounwave is credited as a writer and producer on the track alongside some other names like Zoe Kravitz and of course Jack Antonoff. I like that this song is a slow-burning start, but it also puts an emphasis on the clouded atmosphere of Taylor's own mind, and she's talking about having to keep a relationship concealed. It's a love song disguised as several other things, and it really does get the album started in a way that makes me excited for what's to come. Her falsetto vocals are a really nice compliment to the track's lighter on its feet production, and I do enjoy some of those more intimate feeling moments. Tracks like Labyrinth, where you just get a little shimmer of that synth, and it's just like a drug being inserted into your veins. It's really catchy, and it keeps circulating over and over and over again. And I also get similar feelings from Sweet Nothing. It's the next to last track, but it's kind of confessional. It's very slow, it's very emotional and cathartic. Anti-Hero is getting the big push as the first single, the first music video, and I do think this is a really solid track, but I don't know that it necessarily lives up to the entire hype. I appreciate that Swift is holding herself accountable and also getting into some vulnerable moments on the album where she talks about depression, not even feeling like a human being, and this track in particular really does personify a lot of those elements. I just can't say that I'm super crazy about the "hi, I'm the problem, it's me." Lana Del Rey really surprised me by showing up on Snow on the Beach and really doing something that's rather understated. I appreciate her smaller contribution that made the song even better. It's a love song, of course, and it's talking about something that's so rare, it's beautiful, like Snow on the Beach. You don't expect it, but when you have it, you're like, oh my god. Bejeweled is a bop and a half, and I love the sly, almost sarcastic delivery of some of the lines, talking about how she can walk in the room and make the whole place shimmer. It definitely has this kind of shaking percussion and also a really steady driving synth that just makes the song feel comfortable and lived in. I thought Mastermind was a great choice to close out the album because here Taylor is talking about how she sets everything up, she's behind the scenes, seemingly innocent. I had no part in this, but really the whole time I'm just masterminding this shit and just putting it all together and oh, I got you to fall in love with me, or I made this happen, I snapped my fingers, and I was the one behind the blueprint the entire time. What can I say, guys? Taylor brought the pop, and this time it brought down the house. It really worked and flourished. This album, Midnights, has more in common with the likes of 1989. The songwriting is strong, the production is pretty much aces for the most part, and even though there's a few songs that personally I don't gel with, like Vigilante shit, I think the fans will probably eat them up because, yes, Queen, it's made for that, not for me, and overall I did really enjoy the project, and I'm giving it a strong 4 out of 5. Let me know what you guys think about Midnights in the comments section down below, and please leave a like on the review if you enjoyed it. This was, of course, just all my opinion on it, and if you want to see my favorites, least favorites, more info about the album, that's listed in the description. I might re-rank her album soon. Let me know if you guys would be interested in that, and there's a couple of recent videos floating on screen now, and I'll be back soon for more on ARTV.